My iPad is being a little finicky, so if you're at home today, just write down what's here so far and we'll continue on. All right, so it's consistently, no matter which set of data you're looking at, it's 60 miles per hour that she's driving. So we consider this a proportional relationship since all those ratios were equal. And if you remember back to way back when, we know that the constant of proportionality is k is equal to y over x. Okay, so we have our constant of proportionality here. In this case, when we divided our y's by our x's, we got 60. So we can say k is equal to 60 in this case. Okay? Now let's look at the graph of this so we can just remind ourselves what a graph of a proportional relationship looks like, okay? So I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. And I'm just going to put a little coordinate plane on here. Just the first quadrant. Okay. So this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis. If I look at my table, my x-axis is time. So I'm going to put time in hours here. And then my y-axis, if I look at my table, we're talking about distance in miles. Okay. Now you want a scale that's appropriate. So it goes up to 3 here. So I'm going to spread this out a little bit. I'm going to go every 2 spaces is 1. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the distance goes up to 180. So to make sure it fits on there, I think I'm going to go by 20s for that. So this will be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. Yeah, good. We have enough room. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot my points from my table here. Does anybody remember the 2 requirements for a proportional graph? Kara?
The line has to be straight and it has to pass through 0, 0.
Yeah, is that what you guys, everyone else is going to say? Yeah, so it needs to be linear and it needs to cross through 0, 0. So let's see if our, we already identified that it's a proportional relationship, so we know it's going to do that, but let's actually graph it and look at it. So this is 3 and 180, 2 and 120, 1.5 and 90, 2.5 and 150. See how they're like super duper nice and lined up? That's the telltale sign of a proportional relationship. And when you connect them, it goes through 0, 0. Okay. Now, just a reminder, you can find the constant of proportionality with a graph. All you have to do is pick one point on your graph, so maybe this one right here. This point is 2, 120, and you just plug it in up here. Y divided by x. So 120 divided by 2 is 60, which we already know is our constant of proportionality. Okay, so you can do it from a table, you can do it from a graph. The other way that you can do it from is from an equation. So let's write an equation for this. Looking at the table, what would you multiply all of your x values by to get your y values? 60. Good. That's what our constant of proportionality tells us. It basically tells us, what do we multiply x by to get y? So when we write this in an equation, it looks like this. Okay, so that's our frame. And in this particular case, to get y, we have to multiply x by 60. So our equation to get y is 60 times x. So anytime you see an equation in this form, the number being multiplied by your x is your constant of proportionality, which we've kind of killed it already. We've done this a lot of times. We know from the table, the graph, and now the equation that the constant of proportionality for this is 60. Okay? Now the other thing you're going to need to be able to do is and this is kind of, I don't know if we did this during our proportionality unit, so I want to make sure we're good. Another part of this is sometimes you're going to be given equations and you have to identify the constant of proportionality. So let's just practice with a simple one. What is the constant of proportionality here? 3/4. Good. Okay, if it throws you off having the y on the right side, you can rewrite it as y is equal to 3/4 x. And this right here, what is being multiplied by your x, is k, your constant of proportionality. So k is equal to 3/4 given that equation. Okay? Now sometimes you're gonna have to do a little work to get it. So, and you guys have a lot more skills than you had when we did this unit before. So let's take a look at what happens here when you have an equation that is not already nicely solved for y. See, this one, y was all by itself, so it's clear to see what y is equal to. This equation, we have to do a little bit of work because y is not all by itself. So before you can see what the constant of proportionality is, you have to solve for y. Well, here's my y. It's being divided by 6. What's the opposite? Awesome. So if I multiply by 6 here, and I multiply by 6 here, this will cancel out. And we'll get y is equal to 72x. So what is my constant of proportionality? 72.